Thank you everyone for coming. Thank you both for attending the in person. This information seminar is going to be packed with very relevant information. To begin with, I'll give you a bit of introduction about myself. So I'm also one like you, immigrant from South America, came here back in 1976. I've been in this business for wealth creation using real estate since 1996. So I've got 30 years experience next month in doing exactly what I'm going to show you and tell you that now. But I've been in the wealth creation business since 1984. That was my first beginning. And I was working as a financial planner for two of the largest financial institutions in the country and helping people achieve wealth using the fund management concept. So before I go into the content, I want to just share with you a bit of a story, which I'm going to tell three stories in this seminar or webinar. And the three stories that I want to say, I've got a lot of content in here, but it's very subliminal messages that are going to empower you and show you that you can have anything you want in your life, because humans have got all the power, ability, capacity to have anything they want. Only when they decide what they want, because most people don't know what they truly want. So the story about myself is I came in here with my parents back in 1976. I was only 15 years old. And when I came in, I decided that my simple mind was, I just want to become very wealthy and I want to be an important person in the community. Of course, I didn't know how to do it, but that was just my thinking. So my thinking was, I wanted to be someone important. And because of that, I was in a bit of a hurry doing things in regards to this topic. So my parents put me through to school, and I quickly saw that the assistant teachers were teaching me things that I thought, do I need these things or not? Because I was racing ahead in my mind as to what I wanted to be. Like I said, I didn't know how to get there, but all I knew was I wanted to be someone important. Of course, that meant having money, having abundance, but I didn't know any of that. So when I went to the school and I saw the teachers telling me things, which was my education, and then I decided to look at these people. But I thought, how come these people are telling me things and the car they drove didn't represent what I wanted in my life? And look, maybe this is not what. And I followed another teacher and it was the same thing. So indeed, I went to school for a year or two, and then I decided to go back to my parents. I don't want to go to school. I don't think they'll learn the things that I want to learn. And of course, I didn't tell them what my thinking was, because young kid about 15, 16, a lot of energy and a lot of things in mind going on very quickly. But that was my idea. So I decided to quit school. But I thought, now I have to do something for myself that is taking me closer to the outcome that I want. But I didn't see the teachers having what I wanted to have. So I didn't understand that also I was sacrificing something important, which was my further education into something that the system was telling everyone is something that you need to do. So I was indirectly going against the grain from a very young age. So I decided, okay, I'll leave the education, I'll just go on my way. And through that process, I experienced lots of things, but the most important thing I learned was that I did not want to follow people. So the kind of the explanation of this was, because when you come into a country, you didn't know anybody because we were immigrants, or didn't want our family. It was just us, a group of 5 people. And then I started to find my way around in life, getting people some age and obviously looking for similarities. So at the beginning, I hanged around with a lot of people in the Latino community. And these kids were all nice kids, but they were getting into trouble, doing silly things. And I thought, well, if I keep following these kids, I'll become like them. And I thought, no, that's not what I do. So I left those kids. And then I went around with the Italian community, because in those days, Italian was everywhere close to where it used to be. And Italians are nice people, very hardworking, but they do a lot of concrete. So these people did concrete. All my friends did concrete. And they had nice houses, they had family, cooked nice meals, but they always were doing concrete. So obviously I thought, hanging around with these guys, I want to become a concreter. I didn't want to be a concreter because of the dirty hands and the dirty shoes and all dusty, nice people. But I thought, if I hang around with them, 100% become a concreter. So I left that group. Then I went to meet the Greeks. And the Greeks were also very nice. Greeks like girls and cars, and also young also like the same. And I thought this is good fun. Girls and cars are good, but then girls and cars, I thought, this guy's getting paid 30 fingers, full of grace, loyal, and that's thing that did. It's looked at. And I thought we were playing around with these Greek guys. I want to come like them. I didn't want to be that. So then I thought, no, I'm going to find my own way. And then I started to understand things about money, wealth, and I found myself in the middle of a conversation with someone that was reading books. And I read a book, very short passage in a book, that says, in sales, the sky's the limit. And I thought, wow, this statement just opened up a whole new world for me. I closed the book and I thought, yeah, I'm going to become a salesman. And that was it. I decided to become a salesman. And then in salesmanship training, they gave me a couple of recordings. One of them was Neil Martindale, which is called Lead the Field, and the other one was Stranger's Secret. And I used to play this statement every day. And this was conditioned in my mind to different things about what I can do in my mind. And being, of course, young and receptive and wanted to learn everything about it better, I started to do the things that the tape said, because I used to listen to it every day. Within a year, I became very wealthy because I was doing exactly what the tape said to me. And I was non-negotiable that I had to do it because I knew words. If you believe it's something very important. So this is the message that I got. I said one message, one story, which is about me. And from there, my companies grew, my business grew, became more wealthy. Then I fell off the sky, right? But then after I fell off the sky, which is a test for me as well to stretch me out, and then I jumped off much higher than that. After the first one, I fell down. After that, I haven't fallen down yet again, but it doesn't matter. I know that all these things happen because we've been stretched, we've been isolated, and then from there, we jump off into a much, much higher sphere. So that means no fear. That means if you attempt to do something with your lives, and I'm sure that you're here to learn how to create wealth, how to make money, how to do great things, how to become free, how to enjoy life, you can do things but without fear. Because the minute you embrace fear, you have to let go of all the things that are possible for you. So the message is when you do something in regards to creating wealth, you cannot attempt to embrace fear. You have to embrace courage, because in the end, you lose the opportunity if you embrace fear instead of embracing courage. If we look at 100 people that are retired, in any country, it is exactly the same. Right? Out of 100 people that are retired, 95% of the people struggle with money still at retirement. 4% have got enough to get around to do the things they want. One becomes rich. Right? So these numbers don't change. Only the faces change, but the numbers never change. Right? So most likely I'm talking with people here in this. Now, it's not wrong, by the way, being 95%, but that is because we let the system take control of us. So the minute that you understand that this is the case, which means that you recognize, and then once you recognize, you realize. As long as you recognize and realize, then you have to want to admit it. And when you admit, is the time you're ready to jump off. Because it's no point staying in a place that you really don't want to stay just because everybody else is with you. Right? So, for instance, being in a prison, right, there doesn't have a door. So you can easily step out of the prison, but sometimes because you've been there for such a long time and you look around, everyone is in the prison, right? So you probably think that if we're all here, it must be the right place. But also you can see outside the prison, you can see other people having a great life, right? But in order to step out of the prison, you have to also let go of all the habits you get used to by remaining inside, right? So this is about condition, because the system that we live in is created by very smart people, and there's only a few of them. They want to control everybody else. So how do you control everybody else? Is number one, by controlling every industry that the system gives us, including education, food, health, finance. So all these different industries, right, are controlled by these people. So eventually, we are born limitless, we're born fearless, completely fearless, because I've never seen a baby with fear, right? And then we become fearful of everything. And when we entertain fear, then we can move, because For humans, the only thing that stops them from doing anything is fear. But you can control the fear by selecting your thoughts about whether you want to listen to the story by these big corporations, which is looking at the news, which are bad, of course, or disengaging from that and just believing that you can control your thoughts. And if you can control your thoughts, you control your emotions and your actions, and then anything that you want varies. But you need to disengage from embracing fear and embracing courage, because this is the only message here. After all the things I'm going to say, I'm going to give you very practical things to learn on how to do three things. One is how to pay the mortgage in your home within 5 years. And this is an easy thing to do, but of course we use different because we're being conditioned to sign contracts for 30 years because you don't want to use your mind in thinking any other way than following the people that are, and because you love them and they love you, you think that if these people love me, why would they be teaching me different? But they don't teach you with knowledge, with information, they teach you with actions. So by then doing what they do, you end up doing what they do, and then you end up getting some results. So this is the 95% of people. So all I'm here to do is trying to grab one or two of you they're interested and committed to jump over the other side of the fence to at least the 4%. Of course, if you want to be in the 1%, then you'll know who you are, and you probably are not here in the room. But all my job is to do is trying to get you to jump off from being in the 95% people and being indoctrinated into a system that doesn't serve you, but serves the people that create the system. That's what my job is here to do. So I'm going to give you some very practical points on how to pay the mortgage, how to replace your salary income with investment income, and how to create capital growth on command. Now, this is the neat thing that I'm talking because I can tell you how to do it in a way that you can control the capital growth of the investment property. Like you say, if I'm going to contribute or put in a deposit of whatever, 10%, 20%, you can double that within 2 years, no problem. Right? I'm going to show you how to do it properly for you, but it's just to give you an eye-opening session as to how all this is possible. Okay, so I'm going to run through some slides here, and then I'll jump into another story in a minute. There you go. Okay, so the first slide is, I'm sure that you guys already seen this movie. That's one movie, The Great Escape. How to escape to a brighter future. So the idea is that, as I mentioned earlier, we're all stuck in a system. But as long as you realize, recognize, and admit that you're in a system, which is jail, without a door, and then you want to get out, this will help you see some very clear pathways of how you can easily jump out of it. Right? But you just need to disengage fear, embrace courage. And that means that you have to make an effort. And that also means you have to be, because to become wealthy is, I've never seen a wealthy person that does it by sitting on the couch. So becoming wealthy means you have to make an effort. It's like trying to build a muscle without lifting the weight. That doesn't work. So this means you need to make an effort. You have to be uncomfortable, because to become uncomfortable means, okay, something is growing, something, you're lifting something. Right? So you have to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. If you embrace comfort rather than courage, nothing works, but it will never give you the transformation you're looking for. So you need to take the steps. I'm going to give you some very clear examples, like I said earlier, how to do these three things. Right? If you want to do it, at the end of this seminar, I'm going to invite you to my workshop, which is where I will make everything work for you. I'll give you details on how your own individual life can change given your circumstances to achieve exactly what you want to achieve in exactly the time you want to achieve it. So it's not magic, right? But it is numbers, it is understanding things about property, banking, finance, and taxes. So these are the three components that I use, which I'm sure that you already are using or being used by them, and because you don't know how these things work. Now, mindset is very important in here, because you have to also realize that whatever your life is right now, you've attracted by the person you have become by having it. So first, it starts in the mind. So whatever you have right now in your life, good, bad, or indifferent, you've attracted all that because this is the way you think. So unless you change the way you think, you will not change the actions and your habits. Therefore, you'll keep getting what you're getting right now. So unless you do something different, nothing else will change for you. So first you need to change the way you think, because when you think different, you'll take the actions. It will give you the different result. So it's like saying, I want to be there, but you keep walking in this direction. All you have to do is walk in this direction and still look at what you want, but you'll never have it because you have not changed direction. It means you have to move and pivot a little bit, right? And probably you can pivot a little bit, before you actually start walking toward that path. Because unless you change the way you think, your actions will not change, which means that your results also will remain the same. So the idea here is to think about what I'm going to say, right? And I'll keep saying this, you have to let go of fear and embrace courage, because all this stuff that in the end you're going to be invited to do, it means you have to go into an area that you haven't done before, an area that you don't know, right? So what's going to happen? But nothing happens. Nothing bad happens, only good happens. Because now you enter into an area that you don't know, because all possibility exists in the unknown. Because everything else that you know is giving you the life to be attracted. So unless you want a different life, you have to also change the way you think. So let's start to ask yourselves, why are you here? Why are you here? What is the reason you're here? You just want a bit of information, or you want a solution, a transformation? Because if you want just information, whatever I'm going to say is already public domain. Of course, you haven't found it yet because you haven't been really looking very hard. And that's very simple. Or maybe because it's hitting around, it's hitting everywhere. But you need to know, why are you here? So you need to be very clear on this, because unless you're clear why are you here, all you do is just use a bit of free time, to listen to someone talk about wealth or money, property. That won't serve you. That won't help. So why are you here is important. Now, when you think about this question, there's going to be three things you're going to ask yourself. What do I want? Why do I want it? And how do I get it? Right now, so I'm going to ask you the same question. What is the most important thing for you to achieve? What do you want? Oh, it's for freedom. Okay, great. That's good words. These words, good words. Now, I want to ask you, what does it mean yet? And I'll ask you, why do you want? Okay. Enjoy life. Right. Next. Last one is, you want to know how to get financial freedom? You don't want to know, yeah? Now, the question is, you want to know how to get financial freedom? Okay. Now, you said, what? Your what is freedom? Why is because you enjoy it. And how is you want to learn how because you want the happiness. So out of these three questions, why, how, which one do you believe is most important? It's not that it's the wrong answer. It's the right answer, but it's in the wrong order. So that means that when you decide what you want, is what destination, where you want to land your life. Some point in time, you will land your life into this final destination. That's just, those two words are just two words. They don't mean anything more than something that only you probably can work out in your mind. But to anyone like me, you say these words to me, I can't really live because I need to ask further questions about what this means. So why is financial freedom? Which is good. Why is financial freedom is for freedom from making, having the word, taxes that you pay, and all these things. But until you're clear, then it's just two words. How is, what road do I take? You know, these three questions, the order is, because without this first one, the other two don't work. What do I want? I want. Is it the most important? No. Why do I want it? Is why do I want what I say I want? Is it the most important? I think three. Yes. How is basically showing it? And it's showing it. It's easy. Last one is the less important. How is the less important? Because the less you know what you want, and you know why you want it. Why is the fuel, it sparks the engine to travel towards what you want. Because unless you have a reason or purpose for what you want, you won't get off the couch to begin walking towards. It's like saying nothing in the universe is going to get in within a purpose. That's true. Unless you have a purpose for wanting freedom, you will never take the actions necessary to get there. Because it's like saying, I want to eat, or I'm hungry. You want to eat because you're hungry. The reason is hunger. The food is not what you want, but you only want it hard enough when you're hungry. So purpose and why is number one. Most people say how, because shut up. Doesn't matter. I can tell you what I need to tell you, but unless you know why, what I'm going to tell you, it's meaningless to you. So you need to focus on your why, because the why is when you start to break down the condition, you need to break down the crust that has been built up over the years, which is fear, doubt, and all the negative thoughts. The why starts to break all that. And inside, then is you. So then you start to take the action, start to take the steps. Does that make sense? So why you're here is very important. You need to know why you're here. Now, the secret of this is you don't think about what you want once, you forget about it. It means you have to every day take a step towards, advance towards what you want. But every day is a new day. It means you're taking a step closer to it. And eventually you're going to get there. Depends on how intense you want. Now, they're also the important part is to understand that as human beings, and the words is very clear, to be human, you have to be in the space. So they say, if you want to be wealthy, before you become wealthy, you have to think and act like a wealthy person. Because if you don't think and act like a wealthy person, you can't get the result. If you say, I want to be rich, and you behave like a struggling person, you can't become rich. So first you have to assume the state of being wealthy to become wealthy. So wealth will follow you, because you can never chase wealth. Wealth is attracted to the person that is attracted to wealth. Does that make sense? So it's about advancing every day. It doesn't mean walking, it means thinking every day. And then, of course, taking the actions. And this is how wealth comes to you. And then you have no fear of anything, because you know that you're very clear where you're heading, you know why you're heading there. So whenever comes your way, which you push it to the left or the right, you just keep going because you're steadfast in the outcome. So that means every day taking steps towards achieving the outcome. If people here that are from India, are you from India, by the way? Sure. Okay, so next call. So you guys probably know about this story. The story that the man who walks in paradise is a story that is in the Indian culture. And this story goes like this. Like I said, I'm going to tell 3 stories. In these 3 stories, everything that is about what you want to achieve is there. Right? And then I'll talk about the practice. This story is about how people can have whatever they want. The story about this guy that walks into paradise is the story that this man walks into paradise. And as he walks into paradise, he sees everything is wonderful, everything is beautiful. You see beautiful mountains, trees, flowers, birds, animals, everything is so beautiful. And then as he's walking along, being so amazed by the wonder, beauty of this paradise that he was into, and then he started to get a little bit tired. So he thought, started to feel a little bit tired. And all of a sudden he sees a tree, beautiful, wonderful tree with some nice cushy grass. So he sits on the grass underneath the tree, and he's just enjoying the scenery, enjoys the sounds, the smells, and everything else. And then he feels, I'm getting a little bit hungry. And the food comes. The food comes and says, wow, where else could come from? But anyway, the food is there. So he eats. And he's happy. And then he feels, I'm getting a little bit thirsty. So all these drinks come. And then he has a drink, and he has another drink. So he says, oh, I'm feeling a little bit sleepy now. So he falls asleep. So then he wakes up. And I realized he still is in this paradise place as well. The thing is, wow, this is so wonderful. I wonder what's happening here. I'm walking here. I see everything is so beautiful. Then I feel tired. And this tree comes. And then this cushy grass is there. And then I feel hungry. The food comes. And then I feel thirsty. This drink comes. And then I feel sleepy. And now I wake up and it's already think, I want this ghost around. Did the ghost come? And then he's worried because all these ghosts around him. He thinks, oh, God, what's going to happen? One day they're going to kill me. And he does. So the moral of the story is, whatever you think about it, comes to you. And this is good or bad. So if you think of good things happen, if you think of bad things happen, and this is because we resonate and vibrate, and we are in a frequency that attracts similar things that we are reflecting with ourselves, with our vibration, with our frequency. If you think of negative things, fearful things, all those things that we're thinking about also happen, and they come. So this story is similar to the first story that I said about myself, because it's a bit like this to me, but it's important as well. You don't know that in this presentation that I'm going to make, you will have the practical steps as well as when I give you now the philosophical steps. So this is how you can achieve things by thinking about intensively enough or the objective very often. Now, what's happening now? Keep going. Okay. So this one is, so you have to be very clear in what you want. So I said earlier before, what do you want? Very important to know that you need to be very clear in the outcome that you want. Because if you're not clear, then nothing happens. Because it's for you to attract the precise things you want in your life, you have to be also very clear at the destination. You say, I want to be financially independent. What does that mean? It means financially means money. Then you say, okay, how much money does it make me feel financially free? How much money would I like to be earning on my investments? If you want to be financially free, that means how much money a month I want to come into my bank account so I can have this feeling of being financially free. And financially free is, it's a word, like I said, but most people don't understand it really well. To me, what I believe that it is what people want to say when they say this word is want to feel pleasantness within and pleasantness means that nothing to worry about because money is always there. So when we talk about all the things that you want to talk about, well, ultimately it comes down to this. So you want to have the feeling, the experience of being pleasant within yourself and have pleasantness around, which is enough for you and enough for the else around. So this is what I believe, and in my opinion, is what most people want. So when we talk about the things we're going to talk about, investments, things like that, ultimately, it's not about the investment. So the investment is purely the vehicle that we use that gives us the return, that gives us the income, that gives us the experience of being pleasant within ourselves and pleasantness around, which means that we can also help others. That's what I believe it is, what people want. But they make say these words, that show that if it is something different and the variation is not that different, but I think that's what people want to experience. It's not just experience anyway. So it's very important you're very clear what you want. If it is a number, be specific in the number and also be specific in the time that you want to happen. And don't worry about how all this is going to happen because you leave this one to me and I will show you the numbers because there's no problem achieving outcomes. All you need to do is think about what do you want? Why do you want it? I'll show you how exactly you can achieve the outcome you want because, like I said, got enough experience, about 40 years plus doing this kind of business to give you some kind of very kind of accurate information how to do it. Then it's up to you whether you want to engage me to do it because we've got a project manager in this meeting, right? So I'm also the project manager to achieve your life creation because this is what I call myself. I'm the project manager. You tell me what the project is, you engage me, and I will make it all happen for you because I will show you all the steps how to do it. So then you start to become to think like a wealthy person. Wealthy people don't go and build on structures. They get project managers to do it. They should put the money, they understand the concept, that's what they want, and then pay a project manager to fulfill and deliver the project in the time that is contracted. So this is a very important thing from the beginning. You need to think like a wealthy person if you want to become wealthy. You don't want to think like a normal, struggling person and say, I want to become wealthy. If you do that, then nothing will work. You cannot. If you think and act like a wealthy person, you'll attract the wealth to you rather than you trying to chase around trying to become wealthy by saving a few dollars. So be clear in what you want is number one starting point. But it's not the most important. What I want is the number one question. That's the beginning. Why is the most important? That's the purpose. How? This one here is just numbers and understanding logical things about how it's truly work. And then in the end, you need to understand also that you want to grow an oak tree, you plant the seed. But you don't go looking into the ground to see how the seed is going every day. See. So you're going to have trust that the system, works. And because these is simple things, and these are very simple things, as people make it complicated because they want to know how is the seed going? How are you going to lead up at the seed? How is it attending an tree that is kicking it as tall, right? And if you do that, then you can go in because you don't let nature take its course and you let go of the trust, you start to embrace fear and doubt. So this one here also ruins things. Fear and doubt is part of the same thing, but you need to let go of those. You need to embrace courage, which means that let the seed stay on the ground, water the seed, give it time, and eventually start to see it sprout. Like I said, I've been doing this for a time, so I can tell you it works. And then I will show you how it works. What we're going to do is later say to me, let's do this together, and I will show you how to make it. So as I said earlier, we teach three things that you might want to learn in action to open the vault with all your dreams. Because like I said, anyone that has got a dream or a wish, you can have whatever you want. You need to believe this. But this is a platform that being at the 95%, it's hard to make you believe in this. But the person that is the 1% is exactly what it does. Okay? He believes in what things can work and that these things work. So they take the action and they release fear. So this is a very important part. So think of your dreams, right? The dreams are just a preview of what reality is. But you can only achieve your dreams because you're the person, the dreamer, are the only one who can make your dream. I can make it come true. Of course, I can give you the way, show you, but in the end, it's like they say, you can take the horse to water, but you can't make it drink. So we'll show you where you need to step into, but you're the one that needs to take the action. Right? And don't worry about how it works yet, because you'll start to see things unfolding that become strange sometimes, how the things happen, right? You stay steadfast on your outcome and it'll come to you. Right? Now, these are the three things that I said earlier that I show people right now to do. And I used to focus a lot about paying off the mortgage in 5 years, 2 or 3 years back when people were struggling about paying the high rates of interest and everyone was struggling with mortgage because we went from 4% before they put in the fraud COVID into action around the world, right? And then they dropped the rates down to 2%, so everyone became an investor buying this and buying that because the income obviously was much higher than the interest. And all of a sudden, once we're all stuck into this property that we started to purchase, because the low rates, they jacked up the rate to 7%. That's when everyone became, whoa, what's happening here? All the dreams were all so good, now turning to nightmare because the rates went to 7%. So the whole thing turned upside down. So I focused a lot on these mortgages, which of course is something that most people want to know how to do. But I've been doing this for, like I said, 30 years. Very easy to do it. Now, of course, you don't know how to do it because you just believe that banks and corporations are there to help us, but it's exactly the opposite. They're not here to help us. The second one is how to replace salary with investment income. That means how to buy properties that will help you replace your salary income. Whatever your salary income is, $100,000, $200,000 combined, you can make all this work for yourself. Within 10 years, you can have all this money coming to you. So you don't have to work anymore for the system. You work for you. And this where it comes to freedom part, right? Because humans have got these three things in themselves that they want. And this is what they like. One is they want to be free. Two is they want to grow, expand. And three, they want to control. So these are the three things that are inside us that we'll look for. From the moment that we're born with these three things. By the time we get to around about finish school, we become on the other side, right? We're people, we don't believe in ourselves, we don't believe in our dreams. So we become completely scared about everything, right? So we become incarcerated to the system. The system means the way that they condition us to think, right? So we lose all our power because we believe in what they told us at school to do, which is become people, you can only do this, you can't do that. And they give us regimented things to think about, but they don't teach us how to dream, how to use our imagination, how to believe in perception and things like this, because this is when you have to let go of the system and believe in yourself. They don't teach us about intuition, all these nice things that we know that is within us. So they try and block it off with this information education, which doesn't do anything else than builds a crust around us that kind of prevents us from becoming the people that we are, which is we're limited. It's got no limits. The only limit is the limits that they put in our minds, and then we end up believing it. So this is what we're going to talk about. Now, view the mortgage from a new perception and a different reference point is important, right? Because if you got a mortgage and you want to get rid of the mortgage, it's a very simple step. And you need to think about this, right? There are 4 things that you need to. How much is your income combined take-home money right now? And if you want to do this with me now, I can show you this very quickly. Write down how much is your monthly net income that comes into your household. Right now, deduct from that money, deduct the living expenses that you have. Right? So whatever it is, if your income is $10,000, let's say you've got a $500,000 mortgage. You earn $10,000 a month. You spend $3,000 in living expenses, you got $7,000. So the $7,000 left deducted against the 500, that number multiplied by 5.5%, which is the current rate of interest with most banks for mortgages, right? You're going to end up with a number, and you divide that number by 12, and that'll give you about $2,300. So you've got $10,000 coming in, $3,000 expenses, $2,300 worth of interest. You're going to end up with around $4,700. Okay. Now this interest is going to reduce every month because every month you're going to have more money in your account. But if you multiply 4,700 multiplied by 12, you're going to end up with around $50,000 worth of excess money. If you divide the $53,000 into the $500,000, you're going to have a number there that's going to be around 9.3%. 9.3. That means you can wipe off the mortgage just using this simple equation that I just given you, right, in 9 years. So you go from 30 years down to 9 years. Right? Now, to get rid of it in 5 years, okay, then you need to just add an investment property income. Okay? And don't worry about the mortgage from the investment, right? Because there are ways not to pay the mortgage on the investment property until you pay the mortgage in your house first, right? But I will talk about that in the next meeting if you decide to come into the next meeting, right, which is where I'll give you the specific outcomes for your specific situation and your specific ones. Now, understanding why mortgages don't shrink or don't get paid off is because the system is created for you not to pay the mortgage. And if you notice, if you had a mortgage for 3, 4, 5, or 6 years, whatever mortgage that is, every few years, right, when the interest go down, you change banks, the interest go up, the broker calls you and send you money. So your mortgage is reset every time you change bank, it's reset again for 30 years, right? Or sometimes you spend too much money on the credit card, you got a car loan, you got this loan, that loan, and then you decide to consolidate because all the little loans, because they're a higher rate, are taking off all your money, taking off all the joy of life because now you have to go work to pay the bills that you created with the money you started to borrow. So you decide to consolidate into the one loan, which goes against the mortgage of the house. So then you reset the loan again, and now it's a much higher number. So this is a very smart system to keep you slaved for the bank. So mortgages are nothing else than a modern way to enslave people, right, to control. This is all about control. Right? So once control is for 8 hours a day, which means you go and work for 8 hours a day for a company that is making money, you're making money for them for a rate of return, which is your return per hour, either between 30 is a minimum income to whatever, $60, $80 an hour, to try and make you react to doing something different. Is whatever your income is, did you know you can multiply that income per hour by 10 or 20 if you want to? The word is if you want to, right? Because you can also multiply that income from 60 to 600 or 6,000 if you want. Now, of course, it doesn't mean that you are doing exactly the same thing. And no, doesn't mean that you have to sit on the couch. It doesn't work like that. Because like I said earlier, if you want results, right, means you need to embrace courage, not comfort, right? But if you want to, you can also learn how to do this. I can show you once you become part of what we do in the next, which is called the Elevation Seminar, which is when I show exactly all the things I do in detail to make the things you want to come true in your life. Right? And all you do after that is engage me, and then I go and do it together with you. Right? Next one, banks keep us focused on repayments. Why do they keep us focused on repayments? Right? It's because this is how the banks keep perpetuating your fear that you have to remember what it work because you need to make the money to pay the mortgage. Like we might go on holidays, but we carry around the mortgage, right? Because we know that we can't stay on a holiday for too long because we have to go back to work because we've got this mortgage. And I don't want to talk about the banks or the rest too much, but banks, to me, is a criminal organization. They lend us money they don't even have. They just lend us data, right? Because control governments to allow it to happen. And we go and work for a small hourly rate, pay taxes, right? And from that, we say, here's our money, right? This real money, that this money goes to the ledger. The money they created, they give us the data, that's not ledger money, they're just numbers on a computer, right? But banks keep us focused on these repayments because this is how they keep you going to the salt mine to make money so you can feather their nest, right, with your real money so they can go and lend this money to somebody else by using what is called fractional lending, which is whatever dollar you put in the bank as repayment, they multiply by 9 and then 10 to somebody else. So that's another conversation later on. They're here to give you the first bone, if you like, to play with, which is the house that you want. Okay, here's the house that you're going to pay us this for 30 years. I mean, if you realize what the bank will, when you have to get the bank for that loan, is twice as much as what you borrowed, right? And then on top of that, you're going to put another third as well on top to pay taxes. So if you're going to mortgage $500,000, you have to earn 1.5. $500,000 for the tax office, $500,000 for the bank, and the $500,000 for the data that you borrowed to the bank. And you have to do this in 30 years. Not a good deal for you. You got the thing you want, which is your house. But you haven't thought about how all these things happen, which makes you struggle, right? Because you're not prepared to move around as patients. But anyway, at least you're here, right? So starting to learn a few things, I hope. Okay. So why do we follow others and not our instincts? It's because to follow is easier than to carve your own path. Again, don't embrace fear, embrace courage, right? Because when you follow other people, when you analyze who they're following other people, and those guys are following other people. So in the end, everyone's following people. They don't even know where they're going. But there's a lot of it. You need to think different. Think about how can you stop being a follower. The only way is by releasing fear and doubt and believing that what you want can be achieved, and then start to take action. If you take action, you get two things. Number one, you get feedback, right? You do it wrong, you do it right, okay, but you get feedback. If you do it wrong, doesn't mean you stop. It means you can try something else. It's like Edison when he invented a light bulb. How many times did he fail? He failed about 1,000 times, but he never stopped. But what he did, he said, okay, I just found another way how it doesn't work. But he kept going. And in the end, what happened? He got it. All the people that created great things in life did it because they never stopped. So you need to know this. If these guys are not, it's not hard. But you need to make an effort and take action and release yourself from fear and doubt and just take the action. Believe that you can do it. You can. Believe that you can't do it and you can't. So it all starts with mindset. Remember, 95% it's about thinking. So 30-year mortgage prison incentives, you can definitely escape. Be clear when you want to leave the prison, by the way. Because if you want to leave the prison, 95% people sitting in this room can go together, right? And most people that sit in the room for a long time in the jail, they don't want to move because they already know how everything works. They know how it feels like living there. Right? But like I said earlier, if you want to be wealthy, become wealthy in the thinking first. And then you'll drag the wealth to you. You need to know these because being in jail is not for fun because you want to enjoy it. By the time you retire, right, you want to enjoy it. That's going to be your result because you would have said to yourself, what about if I keep action? I heard my credits. What about if I listen to this? If I listen to so many times, because a lot of you might have been going to a lot of seminars and webinars. I never took the action. Whichever action you take from whatever seminar, you start something. You begin the journey. You start to see how things work. If that doesn't work that way, doesn't mean you go to zero. It doesn't mean you give up on something new. But pretty much what I'm going to do, and if you want me to, is show you everything. You know, look, you don't have to do anything. Send me documents. I'll show you exactly how it works. I've got my entire team of consultants as a project manager to achieve your wealth. Right? I will disclose all the people I work with and I instruct them what to do to deliver your outcome and the target you want to have. Right? So why do you want to leave the jail? Be very clear as well, right? Because you might want to stay there. It's no problem. We'll keep talking with you and eventually you'll want civilized. You have to start working there. I want to be now. But sometimes you need a bit more pain, you need a bit more struggle before you realize it's time to leave this jail because what is leaving, why am I still here? And then you decide to take action and don't look back. When you leave the jail, never look back. Because remember, most prisoners, they're in prison for a long time. They become so used to the prison. And then all of a sudden, it's time to go. Because they don't know anything about being the outside, they commit a crime to go back inside. And remember, this happens as well to people that are in these mortgage prisons, right? They get out for time being, right? They try to do the things that perhaps I say or somebody else says, but all of a sudden, the warden from the jail, bank manager said, look, sorry, but that product that you've had for a couple of years is no longer available for you. We need to change it on for what you were before. Back to jail. Okay, what do? You go back to jail. So we go back 30 years. What tricks? Not true. But if you accept it, you go back to jail. And because you lived there for such a long time before you think, well, it wasn't too bad. What the hell? They should do what everyone else does. And then you end up back into jail again. But that's not you. And once you learn these secrets, you stay out of jail. Now, secrets of neutralizing mortgage is very simple. Money out. If you understood what I mentioned earlier about how to get a mortgage, and I'll show you very quickly how you can neutralize it in 9 years. I'm going to show you now how to do it in 5 years. Now, this here is for someone with a mortgage of $500,000. Right? So this guy here is exactly what I said, right? $500,000 mortgage. Now, in here, if you go to the bank, you pay for 10 years, and up to 10 years, right? You're giving the bank $340,000 in repayments, but you still owe them $411,000. So, and this is from the Commonwealth Bank, right? So that means that even though you pay the bank $340,000, you still owe $411,000, right? But I just shown you very quickly how you can get rid of it in 9 years. Right? So you started to see the picture, right? That what you've got, if you get a 30 mortgage, is not the reality. It's the reality you've accepted because the bank fed it to you, they fed it to you, and you've taken it, and you think, how come everybody's buying? It's because everyone is following. So if you follow, this is your result, right? So when you do this kind of thing, you work out that this is where your money goes. First, 2 days, 1 day and a half, it goes to the tax office. Then the other 1.5 days goes to the bank. Then the blue section here talks about your living expenses. And then you're going to be the money saving in super. And then you save it, will save it. It's a very small portion of the money that you earn for the entire week. Okay, now this is not a good thing for you, but this is what most people do. Let's talk about how to get rid of this mortgage from 9 years into 5 years. Right? So we go here. This gives you a bit of the cash flow that I mentioned earlier. You can see here that the mortgage pay in 9 years is brought to zero. On $500,000 mortgage, you pay it off in 9 years by just swapping a product. Also, you see here that the part that says interest paid to the bank, if you keep doing what you're doing for 30 years, it's going to be $522,000. By swapping the product, you only give the bank $122,000. So you save about $200,000 of your hard-earned money, okay, by just swapping the product around. That's all you're doing here. Because now we're going to add an investment, right, that's going to save money you get to the tax office, because the tax office is another corporation that was created a long time ago, maybe a bit over 100 years ago, to support wars. But after that, there were no wars. So what happened? Right? We're still paying the taxes. Right? So the whole thing is conditioning the people to have less, because people don't complain most times. They don't complain. So they end up accepting less. If they're accepting more, be good. But they now learn how to accept less and less, and those taxes and inflation is all the same thing. Right? We need to live very wisely, because number one, they tell us you can't work too many hours now, and all this stuff. Globalization is making things hard for everyone, but you need to think what you want. Right? So how to go from 9 years to 5 years? All these just add an investment property. Now, some of you already have an investment. Okay? But because you have the wrong loan products, you're getting the wrong result. So by adding an investment property means you add an extra income to the repayment of your mortgage at the expense of the investment property loan, right? So now you've got the mortgage, same $500,000 mortgage, paid off in 5 years. Right? The discharge of the cash flow, or how it works, like I said, it's up to you to decide to take the action to have the result. And now, like I said, I've been doing this for a long time, so all these numbers are accurate, right? And all you need to understand is your position. How much income do you earn in your pocket monthly? How much your expenses, right? And everything else I can work out for you very easily to show you how it's done, if you want to do it. Okay? Now, you know the story about the parable of the three servants? Now, this is an old story from the Bible, right? Or some Bible, I guess. It talks about these three servants. The master went away for 10 years and said, I'm going to give you, right, I'm going to give you one talent, and those are called talents, right? It was like 100 tokens. The other one he gave 2, and the last one he gave 3. Now, this story is going to tell you something about who you are. You're one of these 3, right? So he goes away, he comes back 10 years later, unannounced, and he calls the 3 of them in. He said, okay, so the one that gave 5 talents, right? He said, now, how many talents do you have now? And he said, I've got 10. I said, great. So what did you do? I traded, I invested, I did this and that. Right? I said, okay, great. Well done. Good job. The one that he gave 2 talents, he said, now I've got 3. I said, okay, what did you do? I invest some, I save some, right? But I got 3. Okay, great. Good job. The last one, he said, now you got 1, like everyone. What did you do? He said, I'll tell you what I did. He said, I buried it, right? So I've got my talent here. He said to this, take the talent off, give it to the one that I get 5. Now, what is the story here? That if you play safe, everything will live in you. You won't have enough. Because playing it safe is like attempting to live life that is risky by any means all the time. And you want to be in the corner, right, covered with a blanket, right, where people are feeding you food. Or the other guy that got the 5, he went there to live life and experience everything. He tried, but he got a result. He got a good result. Right? So you can choose which one of those 2 or 3 you want to be. Okay? This is how people behave in life. In general, this is how it is. If you're out there creating things for yourself and thinking what you want to achieve, you'll try lots of things. Eventually, you'll get one. And then you're going to get a really good result. Right? Like I said, it doesn't mean you're going to go on a straight line to success quickly, because success is a chain of events. Sometimes you do it the wrong way. Sometimes you do it the right way. But you're doing something every day using your mind, because you've got your outcome over there. You've got your destination there, and you've got a fantastic reason why to get it. So you do it right, you'll do it wrong, you'll do it right, but eventually you get there. Or you can be like the second guy's got 2, getting 2 and got 3. You put some away, you save something in the ground, you like. Ultimately, regards to money, it works like this. This is the chronology of how money should be used. You earn it, you invest it, you save it, and then you spend it. That's the secret of making lots of money. Earn, invest, save, and spend. What most people do? Earn, spend, save a little bit, and if they got some money and got carry, spend this. Wrong way to do it. Anyway, you know which one of these 3 you are, and I'm just inviting you to probably change to be the guy who was given 5 talents, because we're all given the same talents. When we born, most of us in this seminar webinar, okay, how were we given but we've given the same, which is nothing. Right, so we'll create our own things. But when we've got a little bit, we need to know what we do with it. You do nothing, let's say, in the end, you can want another much. Now, investing in high income producing assets is the part where people get mixed up when they attempt to buy investment properties. Now, this is my take after seeing over 10,000 people, how they do things when it comes to investment property. And they're thinking of a person that is in the 95%, by the way, about to buy investment properties. They want to get a good deal. What does it mean to get a good deal is get a property that is cheap, because they think if I buy a cheap property, it's going to grow in value, right? Because of whatever, an imaginary amount in a period of time. But the only problem is that people don't realize that property that you think is a good deal, because of the imaginary capital growth, the capital growth might not be there in the time that you believe it's going to be there, number one. So it's imaginary. But what is real is that the rental income that you will get for that property is never going to be enough to cover the loan repayment that you're going to take from the bank, which is fixed, real. So you get a real low rent to pay a real high repayment for an imaginary result, right? Now, we used to talk a lot before about negative gearing. It's exactly negative gearing. It doesn't work. Why? Because negative gearing means you have to go willingly to lose $1 to back it up with an imaginary capital growth so that you can collect additional tax dollars. So you willingly go lose $1 to collect 30 cents, with the promise in your own mind, with the imaginary result, that you're going to get it. Capital appreciation does happen. How much and when? We don't know, because conditions change all the time. As you've seen it recently, right? Capital growth in Victoria is not that good. Why? Because of the draconian government, right? Crazy government, yeah. But elected by the people here, otherwise they didn't come out of the sky. Right? So these people do whatever they want with laws to change and make it worse for investors. And banks can even a lot or still in money. For instance, if you have a couple with $200,000, the amount of money you are allowed to borrow from banks in Victoria is much less than you over the same time in Sydney. Why is that? Because banks know if something goes wrong, where's my buffer? The buffer doesn't grow. So you need to also think about these things, right? So when you look for investments, like everyone else looks for investments, more realestate.com, and now we've got these guys coming in the market. You pay 15 grand to buy a happy, you want to find you the property, which is from the same website that you could be looking, because they say we'll find you the best deal. Because I advertise something from my clients of properties. They ring me and say, what properties are you going to buy? Risk, buyer's happy. Why don't you tell him to look on there? But that's what he does. It's ringing me. So you need to know this. Buying high income producing assets is the secret. Now I'm going to show you, okay, if you want to be wealthy, okay, you can be wealthy because you already are wealthy in the mind, in all the attributes you have, all your faculties, you're wealthy, but you behave like a struggling person, so you attract struggle. Wealthy people, they don't behave like struggling people. So what options do you have as a normal, regular person to buy property that you believe is going to make you money? You got a house, established house, or one off the plan, you got apartments, you got a townhouse. This is what most people do look for when they buy property to get well. Okay, now this is the way the 95% people think about when they buy property. Now, I'm going to show you how the wealthy people make money with property. Right? Yeah. This is not about you want to buy commercial. This is about how the wealthy people think about making money with property. That person that is wealthy can also look at the other one, can look at that as well, but it doesn't want that. Why doesn't want this kind of property compared to that one? Because this one here advertises the property, the suburb, right? And that's all it does. Property, suburbs, how many bedrooms in a price. This property here advertises something different. This one is based on income. And now I sell lots of this kind of real estate as well, because I'm with clients that are wealthy and they want to sell property. Very simple. The vendor sells his assets at 5% return. Right? Now, the buyer buys properties at 5% return. So what does that tell you? Is it properties? It doesn't matter. is the rate of return that matters. Because if your rate of return of the rental income is enough to cover the loan, at least you can go to sleep. With all these properties you can buy, you go to sleep. I'm not saying that you're going to buy commercial property because that brings different things. But what I'm saying is about how to understand how the wealthy people think in regards to investing money in real estate. Now, of course, these properties are going to be worth $700,000, $800,000, like some of these are worth maybe 5, 10, 30 million. Okay, but the concept is these wealthy people look for rate of return. They don't look at, is it a nice area? Is it a good school? Or they look at it. Of course, those things are relevant in some shape, I guess, in regards to capital growth and who's going to buy it. But the main concept here, these people want rate of return. Now, that's the first part. The second part is this. Once they buy these assets, what is the next thing they think about? Very quickly, they look at the property and they say, how can I increase my rate of return? How can they increase the rental income? Because if you increase the rental income, what you've done at the same time, now you increase the value of the asset, because whatever income you increase the property at, someone else will buy it for 5%. So this is how wealth creation happens with property on command. You buy property, improve its value by improving its income, and then you got the money. Now, this is why I said earlier, right? If you want to create wealth on command, real estate, using the commercial example and ideas, using real estate, right? You can double your income, double your money, right? Invest it within 2 or 3 years. Because now we're focusing on something different. Not focusing on investing in property because 2 or 3 bedroom or biggest house area. Now we're focusing on income. If we focus on income, we increase the income, we increase the value. Most people talk about we're going to buy a property over there because the train is coming by next year, 2 years, 3 years, and what's boom, right? Or this because there's something that's happening, going to go boom. That's the boom thing is subject to many things and changes and things that happen globally, right? Or interest rates or more poison that they want to give us. Right? It changes the landscape of things. But the way that I just mentioned earlier, how to do it, it's not affected by things. Because when it comes to investors wanting to invest, they want money. I'm talking to risk guys, not the 95%. The 95% is nice house. It's a nice, cheap, nice door. Let's buy that one. It looks good. And I'd like to live there one day. That's not. Investor wants money. You think about the investor, how the investor thinks, you act like they, you make the money. You think the regular person, 95%, you do the things that they do, and you end up exactly what you're getting, or exactly how all the people are struggling. You will struggle with. Now, alternatives. If you don't want to use my services to show you to achieve your outcomes, you can keep asking your good intention pre-advisor, like friends, relatives, another one, the fund, whatever. Do it yourself, which is okay as well, because maybe you'll use some of these ideas to try on your own, which is great. You can go for it because this is about you also using your own intuition, right? Do nothing and remain in fear, which is like the person one column, but all the wealth that you had available to you will be taken off, because then you'll go into the regret. When you get old, can't work anymore, you would say, I wish I'd have done something different about my life, because look at all the other people that did it. Why do you prefer to live in fear and then nothing happens? Because fear is great, because fear is fuel. If you use fear properly, fear is fuel, because it says, right, what do I do with it? Example, let's say you put on a plank on the floor, say 10 inches wide, right? And it's say 3 meters long. And someone puts $100 on the floor on the other side, and they say to it, if you cross this plank, get $100. You will walk the plank, correct? Yep, easy. Now, let's say we put that plank 100 stories high. $100. Will you cross the plank? No. Right. Now, say that you're on this side again, right? Same plank, 100 stories high. On the other side, there's a building, and your family says the building's burning down. You go across? Yes. fuel, fiat fuel. Anyway, so the next one is ask for expert guidance, which is what we're saying here. If you ask for perfect guidance, right, means that you need to talk to people that know how to do things, at least try, right? Because if you've chosen, this is your Mount Everest, right? This was a very good book. Don't put things that this I want to buy shed to put my chickens in, but not going to work, right? But if you say, I want to earn $300,000 for my investment at the time I retire, that's good. That's good. That means you've got something solid, something really good and chunky. You can spend your mind learning how to do it, because it's like they say, if you aim for the moon, you're going to end up on top of the tree. At least you end up somewhere elevated. But if you choose to aim for the trunk, you're going to end up all in the dirt. So try and choose, when you use this fear factor, right, it can give you the fuel to run towards. So with this year reference point, financial struggle for you, I hope that now with some of this information you it's only a choice. Because if you do nothing, you will struggle. If you do something, like who knows where you're going to end up. Can be somewhere great, which is your dreams. But it's totally up to you. So if you're clear on your purpose, advance towards the goal with confidence every day, and you'll get it. Now, from here, okay, my invitation to you is to do what we call it the elevation workshop, which is I will go through your personal goals and objectives, right? And I will show you how to achieve them, how to do it. Then this is how to do it. Right? Now, this is just giving you general information, right? But in the next 4-hour session that I do is where transformation happens, where you'll be able to see exactly how it works. If you want to join me there, I will show you how to achieve the outcome, right? Which means that you now are going to use my time to help you achieve your goals and show you how to do it. And so I invite you, if you want to join in my next event, which is I'll do the whole workshop, you let me know and I'll send you an invitation to achieve this exactly precise outcome that you want. And that elevation seminar costs $3,900 for me to spend my time to show you the way on how you can achieve this. If you want to, I'm looking for 1 or 2 who want to jump on the other side. That's all I want. 1 or 2 out of this, and 1 or 2 is good for me because then I can help 2 people jump off and make their dreams come true. Okay, it is another year, 2, 3, 4, whatever. I had a guy that came in after 15 years. He's how I was still talking, he came in after 15 years and more. He didn't want anything, but 15 years came back, so I still see that you're still doing it. Now I'm ready. And that's what but why did he work 15 years? I said, you know that the investment property he could have worked 15 years ago, it's going to cost more than double than we would have. And he goes, yeah, I know, it's a kid out there. What does that give you? Nothing, right? Nothing, zero. Yes, learn my lesson. If you want to do this now, you can, and I'll be very happy to go through all the details, how all this works. And that will at least show you clearly what you can do. Whether you want to use me to do it, become your project manager, then you engage later, but first you need to come to the workshop to show you all the intricate details how to do it. Now, any questions from anybody? Give any questions? They pay first, and then you come in and then I'll show you exactly all the details. All you do is bring you goals and dreams, when you want to achieve them, and I'll show you. But yeah, you need to pay these up because once we start, it's only a 4-hour first detailed information. And of course, then we're going to go through your more details. So spend a bit more time. So probably take us around 10 hours to get your outcome specific. But yeah, that's how it works. Anybody else? Any questions? Okay. Anyway, thanks everybody for attending. I hope that it's been valuable information that I shared with you. And any questions, you can always send an email. We'll try to help you out. Thank you.